Hello everybody, Darren Bacon here. Welcome to another installment of Concept Apartment. Today I'm going to be going over this sketch I did a couple weeks ago. I posted it on Instagram. It seemed to get quite a few likes, so I thought I would share the recording just because I had it. And what I've done here is this complete sketch took about 26 minutes, I think, was the final result. And so I've sped it up to 10 minutes. So this is slightly faster, but overall the speed is sort of not that much faster than reality. And I just want to kind of trim it down a little bit because 26 minutes would have been kind of a long time, because a lot of times I work pretty slow. I'll sort of be thinking a lot while I'm sketching, especially in that early block out phase where I'm taking a light, like Cool 1 or Cool 2 marker and kind of just loosely sketching in shapes. I had an idea for what I wanted to do with the sketch, and I sort of, I knew I wanted to do this kind of bizarre suspension kind of Jeep vehicle, and so I kind of started sketching in that overall, main suspension joint piece. And that's kind of where I've been building out from it. I mean, you can see that, like, as soon as I moved into my ballpoint pen with the high tech, I was working directly over that main suspension joint, because that was going to be kind of one of the key themes of this vehicle. I think one thing that I was thinking about a lot here was trying to have a hierarchy to the theme. So I wanted the suspension to be really prominent, and that's kind of why I was starting there. And I'm going to be working on it quite a bit, and ultimately I will scan the sketch in and go over it, because things didn't kind of quite work out the way I wanted them to on paper, as that often happens, and that's okay, because I can just fix it digitally, or I could have resketched it and done another sketch, but I just thought I would stick with it and scan it in. So at the end of this episode, I'll be scanning it in and then working over it again digitally. And the digital process didn't take that much longer. It was just a matter of cleaning up some of the things that I made, some of the mistakes that I made in pen, and I wanted to kind of reorganize that hierarchy, make sure that the suspension wasn't too muddled, and it was less of it made more sense, I guess, made more sense in how the suspension would work. A lot of times I'm thinking about how this would happen in the real world, and so if it ends up being too much fantasy, then I will just cut it out and fix it later in digital. So you can see that I am kind of going through this suspension work and thinking a lot about how I want to make all this work. Ultimately, I abandon all this suspension work on the front because it ends up being too convoluted and doesn't really make any sense. I haven't really thought through it very well, and so I will just kind of go over it and fix it all digitally later. I'll try to fix it with some dark markers at the end of this section, but ultimately it doesn't end up resolving the way I had envisioned it. Another thing that I sort of wanted to work on with this sketch was, it was a balance of having the suspension be this really important aspect of the design, and also I wanted to sort of indicate this large elliptical shape on the body, and that was going to kind of be the main theme of the body. And so balancing those shapes was going to be tricky, as another thing I fixed later on digitally, because as you can see, if you squint your eyes, the ellipse that's taking place right behind the the driver's seat in this orientation, driver's side elliptical ellipse shape, that's kind of the same size as a lot of the ellipses in the scene. And it's kind of cool because it mimics, like, maybe it's a spare tire or something, and that could be like a really unique key theme to the body. But I need to balance that out, because right now I have 1, 2, 3, 4 ellipses of the same size on this side, that the front wheel, rear wheel, that main suspension joint, and then the main cylinder ellipse piece behind the driver's side. And so I need to sort of solve that. And I will be readjusting that in digital. And it's worth pointing out that the reason why this sketch doesn't work for me, or the reason why I wasn't super happy with it, was because there wasn't a good dynamic there of big, medium, and small shapes. It was kind of a lot of medium shapes. And that's sort of a pet peeve of mine, is I hate it when everything just kind of gets medium density. So I'm going to be trying really hard here to, break that up and make sure that there is a more of an arrangement of shapes and less things that are just the same size. Good design usually, almost always, is going to be kind of following a formula. And the formula usually is, big, medium, and small, and having shapes that are contrast one another and also have harmony with another, or can be contrasting in one space and have harmony in the other spaces of the design. You can kind of think of it like a musical piece. You want things to have a point, a crescendo, a really great focal point, and a real big reason for the design. And then you need to have all these other bits that are supporting it and help you get to that key point and also point back towards it. So a lot of the flow of the lines is going to be important to kind of move the eye around the vehicle and allow the viewer to sort of get to that point for themselves. So those are just some of the things that I'm thinking about all the time. Is like, how can I flow the eye around, and like, where do I want the eye to rest? So I have this set this main body, and I kind of want to move this eye in a specific direction. So a lot of the choices that I'm making with lines and flow are to kind of keep the eye moving that way, and having a lot of diagonals and keeping things dynamic, and making sure that when I end a line, it continues through somewhere else in design to sort of keep the eye moving. Without the eye moving around the design all the time, it's going to get stuck in static and be a bad design. And so it's super crucial that we as designers do everything we can to sort of do that to our work. It's going to be the difference between a good sketch and a bad sketch. And without a lot of dynamics in the line work, good flow, contrast, sort of just design 101 principles, like how you make a compelling composition, that is sort of what it all comes down to in the end. And so always being super cautious of your shapes, line work, and flow is super crucial to having a successful sketch. And that's why I think this one worked out okay in the end, was because of all the work I did to fix it. As you can see, I'm still fussing with the front suspension because I'm still not super happy with how it's resolving, which is ultimately why I will go to digital in the end, is just because it's just not quite right. But there's some things I can do now to sort of add interest to the rendering using markers, because I personally do like that look. And so when I take it to digital, I'm going to do the best I can to use the markers that I'm laying down now, the texture of the markers, and preserve that so that my final sketch doesn't look like a digital sketch, but kind of has that, the touch of a marker and the texture and the feel of a marker sketch, because that's really important to me. So I'm kind of thinking right now, how can I get as much marker down in the right places that I can preserve it later on in digital, and then kind of, fake it the rest of the way when I make it into the computer. These are just final touches now with a light marker to kind of get some of the values to blend. And I just kind of, again, want to get things as close as possible to what the final is going to be, because I don't want to have to do too much in post, because if I do, it's just going to end up kind of killing it and making it look too much like a Photoshop sketch, which is not what I want to be doing for this piece. Now I'll just go in and I'm adding a few little minor details like door cuts, anything you can do like that to kind of help add realism and make it seem like it's actually a functional thing or super important. So it could be like doors, hoods, hatches, part lines, steering wheel, mirrors, seat belts, that kind of thing. All those little details really help add a lot to the sketch. All right, so here you have the final. This is as far as I took it in sketch form. And now I'm gonna scan it into the computer and take it from there. So thanks for joining me on this episode, and please join me on the next one where I will continue with this scanned sketch in Photoshop. And also, please don't forget to follow me on Facebook, Instagram, Tumblr, and Twitter. And please subscribe to this channel. Thank you very much for checking this out, and hopefully you check out the next one too. All right, cool, thanks. All right, so for the next episode, I'm gonna be taking my scanned image into Photoshop and working over it digitally in there. And the principal point of this upcoming episode is to discuss how I'm gonna lay out the sketch to resolve some of the shape hierarchy issues I'm having. Also, here's the final result that I'll ultimately get to. Please stay tuned and check it out on my channel when it's posted. Thank you.